where this living in a solitary place is also recommended. I think this is whenever Krishna was explaining the process of Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga to Arjuna. Is that right? Is this mentioned there too? There's a living in a solitary place. There's another instance where this is mentioned in the 6th chapter. And then in a purport there, Srila Prabhupada explains that living in a solitary place doesn't necessarily mean living in the forest, living in a cave, not associating with anybody at all. For Vaishnavas, the principle of living in a solitary place means only living in association of devotees, living in a temple. You can be in the middle of Bhopal, or you can be in the middle of New York City, and you can still be living in a solitary place and following all the principles that Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita if you are living in the temple. So of course, living in the temple, it's not solitary in the sense that there is no one there, that we're all alone, but it is in the sense that we are not associating with materialistic people at all. And then even still, materialistic people are coming to the temple, you're distributing books, you're having to speak with materialistic people. How is this solitary? The principle is that we give our association to them and we do not accept their association. So still we're following this principle. It's living in a solitary place. And then the propensity to conduct some philosophical research is there, especially in the more intellectual class of people. They want to make some study of life. They want to have their own philosophies and things like this. But Srila Prabhupada explains that anything that's not related to Krishna consciousness, if you're any kind of philosophical discretion, any kind of mental speculation like this, it's actually just all nonsense. Most common is that the research work and philosophical speculation goes towards understanding sex life, ultimately. So their sex life, it goes from the genital platform to the mental platform, and it's still sex life, it's still animal life, but they're thinking, oh, we're very intelligent philosophers and we're engaging in sex life like this, but it's still animal life, it's still sex life. So the propensity to speculate and to philosophically speculate about things should be applied towards the principles of the absolute truth and in our self-realization like this, because the propensity is there in a conditioned soul. So if it's applied towards Krishna consciousness, and mental speculation and philosophical speculation are a little different. Prabhupada makes it sometimes. Sometimes philosophical speculation is permitted within devotional service. If there's an opportunity to refer to the Shastra or to Guru Sadhu Shastra, then that always takes priority. But sometimes there are certain, especially in Kali Yuga, there are many problems that we face which are not direct relation in Shastra. Like, should a brahmachari have a smartphone? You won't have injunctions in the Shastra whether or not a brahmachari should have a smartphone or not. But according to the principles that we learn from Shastra, the philosophy that we learn from Shastra, we can apply this to the principle, to the problem of should a brahmachari have a smartphone, like this. This is like philosophical speculation. It's not necessarily speculation, but like that. There is room for that in Krishna consciousness. It's not like we're just robots and we don't have our own mind, our own intelligence. As far as self-realization is concerned, it is clearly stated here that Bhakti Yoga is especially practical. I think we can finish today. I think we can finish the chapter, or the purport. As soon as there's a question of devotion, one must consider the relationship between the supersoul and the individual soul. The individual soul and the supersoul cannot be one, at least not in the bhakti conception, the devotional conception of life. This service of the individual soul to the Supreme Soul is eternal, nityam, as it is clearly stated. So bhakti or devotional service is eternal. One should be established in that philosophical conviction. Bhaktir avyabhicharini, practicing devotional service without any break of yabhicharini. Seems like things are a little out of order. Vivikta desha sevitvam, living in a solitary place. maybe this is the constant and unalloyed devotion to me. Maybe things are a little out of order. Anyways, Prabhupada is making this important point that the super soul and the soul never become one, but he specifically says that this is the case in the bhakti conception. Of course, bhakti conception is the real conception, but there are impersonal paths. Some of them are actually bona fide, those that are not influenced by Mayavad, where one recognizes the impersonal aspect of the Supreme, the Brahman aspect of the Supreme, and aspires to become a part of that, but in the devotional conception of life, this is actually worse than hell for a devotee, to think of just being one with the Brahma Jyoti or something like that. Another misconception that a lot of people have, that specifically Mayavadis have and impersonalists have, is that you can perform devotional service for some time until the point of liberation, and then at the point of liberation, no need to perform devotional service anymore, because we have become one with the Supreme, we have become liberated. So what's the use of all of this sadhana? What's the use of all of this? But bhakti is, and as we were just speaking in the other class, it's always expanding. So even for pure devotees who are completely surrendered to Krishna, day by day, they become more surrendered to Krishna. They perform more service to Krishna. They look for opportunities to serve Krishna in many more ways. And this is eternally increasing. It's not that we're just satisfied that we've distributed 100 books in a day, and then, we put away our book bag, we, close up the shop and we say, okay, I'm successful for this life. I hit my goal of 100 books in one day, and now I don't need to distribute any more books. We see from the example of great book distributors in the past that even if they've tried to shoot for a goal, once they get that goal, immediately they're thinking, okay, what's the next step that we can go? How can we go higher? So same thing in all aspects of devotional service. We cannot simply be satisfied with the level that we're at. Even pure devotees are not satisfied with the level that they're at. We can hear it from the prayers of Narottam Das, etc., etc. Srila Prabhupada himself always talking about expanding, surrendering more, like this, and always increasing one's devotional service eternally. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, ever increasing ocean of devotional service. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is explained. Varanti tattato vidas. Those who are actually the knowers of the absolute truth know that the self is realized in 3 different phases: Brahman, Paramatman, Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the last word in realization of the absolute truth. Therefore, one should reach up to that platform of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord. That is the perfection of knowledge. Beginning from practicing humility up to the point of realization of the Supreme Truth, the absolute personality of Godhead, this process is just like a staircase beginning from the ground floor and going up to the top floor. Now, on this staircase, there are so many people who have reached the first floor, the second, or the third floor, etc. But unless one reaches the top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna, he is at a lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to compete with God and at the same time make advancements in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. It is clearly stated that without humility, understanding is not truly possible. To think oneself God is most puffed up. Although the living entity is always being kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, he still thinks, I am God, because of ignorance. The beginning of knowledge, therefore, is amanitva, humility. One should be humble and know that he is subordinate to the Supreme Lord due to rebellion against the Supreme Lord. One becomes subordinate to material nature. One must know and be convinced of this truth. So Prabhupada has made a humility sandwich in this purport. He starts the process of speaking about humility, and he ends the purport speaking about humility. Similarly, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives precedence to the principle of humility in his teachings of Sharanagati, through the songs on Sharanagati, the songbook. In the Smriti, I'm not sure exactly where this verse comes from. It's quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but I don't think anyone knows exactly where it's from. This Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulyasya Varjanam, Rakshashyatiti Vishwaso, Goptritve Varanang Tatha, Atmanikshepa Karpanye, Tadvidhi, Shadvidhi, Sharanagatihi. So the first item in this list is accepting that which is favorable, and the last item is Karpanya, humility. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava. This is how Arjuna is approaching Krishna earlier in Bhagavad Gita. So Karpanya, humility, thinking oneself to be very fallen, thinking oneself to be very unqualified. This is mentioned as the last of this list, but significantly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has put it in the first in his discourse on Sharanagati, the process of surrender. So, of course, in this series of verses from Krishna, this is the first item, amanitvam, but it's the same principle. And Srila Prabhupada has he's spoken about it twice, hasn't he? We spoke about it twice. Yes. So he first he gives a statement about knowledge, the process of knowledge in general, and then Prabhupada he outlines each and every point, beginning with humility. So he talks about amanitvam, specifically amanitvam. This lecture that I mentioned, just recently given by Bhakti Vikas Swami in Leicester, called "Humility Means More Than Just Being Polite." Maharaj explains this, that humility, you can translate karpanya as humility. You can translate amanitvam as humility. There's other words too. I can't think of it right now. But actually, all these are different aspects of humility. Amanitvam specifically refers to the fact that we do not expect respect from anybody else. Amanitvam. Amanina, amanitena. So this is the specific aspect of humility that Prabhupada is talking about. And he's explaining that this is actually the qualification to start going up the staircase. He's given the example of a staircase, Krishna consciousness at the top, material life at the bottom. There's some stages in between that people go to. In this book, I don't think it's in all books because it's not in the ones that are printed that North American BBT gives. Yes, there's this diagram. Do you have this in India BBT books? No? They put this diagram in here. It's kind of interesting. So at the very bottom, it says animal life. And then right above animal life, there's karma kanda, which is where human life begins, evidently. Over here, in this dark zone, it says interested in gratifying material desires. Seems like, according to what Prabhupada says, human life begins in devotional service, ultimately. But I guess karma kanda, it's like sophisticated animal life where you're still trying to gratify material desires. And then up from there is karma yoga, engaging in karma and Krishna consciousness. And then from jnana yoga, so karma yoga to jnana yoga goes to Brahman realization, which can lead to Paramatma realization, which goes to bhakti yoga. And then it gives separately Bhagavan realization as something separate from bhakti yoga, which is not necessarily true. There can be Mishra bhakti, where one is not fully realized, but real bhakti yoga, meaning, real pure bhakti, anya vilashita shunya bhakti, is not different from Bhagavan realization. I don't know who made this, but and then Ashtanga yoga also leads to Brahman realization, to Paramatma realization. But I don't like this actually. Now that I'm looking at it, it's kind of weird because Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have given a process where we can come from here, animal life, to here, bhakti yoga, immediately. We don't have to go through this line of karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, paramatma realization. We don't need to go through this line. Prabhupada is explaining that this process is like an elevator. There's like a staircase, and there's many different levels on the staircase, but the process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like an elevator which takes you directly to the Bhakti Yoga. We don't have to stop at each stage. And
One arrow must be there.
yeah, right?
This is the elevator that you show.
Yeah.
This is open according to the stages of the yoga.
Hmm?
It was the title according to the stages of yoga.
The ascending stages of yoga.
Yeah, but
Indirect process.
Yeah, but the whole this is direct process. Anyways, we're not Bhagavad Gita is not specifically our Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is not recommending that one goes through like this. So it's interesting. Yeah, actually.
okay, step by step.
But clearly Srila Prabhupada is giving him a different option in this where are we? Beginning from the practicing humility, going to the ground floor to the top floor. Simple points. We got to the end of the purport. I thought that this was going to go on and on and on. And then just concluding with the very simple point that we are not God and we shouldn't think ourselves to be God. There's many like Mayavadi gurus and leaders and this neo-Mayavad Westerner like life coach type of people, and they seem to be very humble and seem to be very compassionate because they say things like namaste, and like their whole bhav is like very like meek and humble and things like this. But actually they're the most puffed up people. They see that devotees who are bold and they're speaking strongly and they're going out and they're forcing people to take books and they're preaching and they see that these people are very puffed up, but actually this is the perfection of humility. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he prays in this song of Kabe Habe Bolo Se, the final verse of this song. I can't remember what it is. He's basically after praying in many different ways. When will tears come to my eyes, chanting? When will I be roaming in Navadweep like a madman, chanting your holy names? When will I, like this? He's speaking like this. But the conclusion of the song is, when will I, having understood your message, develop the humility that I will also go and spread this message to anyone and everyone? This is the conclusion of the song. This is the highest, actually. The highest level of devotional service is to spread this. And this is the topmost level of humility. The topmost level, he gives this jiva doi, is compassionate towards all of the living entities. This is the highest level of humility. Of course, following in this what is that verse? Make your life successful and then go and spread this message to all the land. The Chaitanya Charitamrita. Not Brahma. Bharat Bhumite Manusha Janmasar. Yes. Parupakar. So having taken birth in this Bharatavarsha, meaning India or meaning this planet in general, but specifically in India, in your case, I had a very fortunate opportunity. First, make your life successful. This is the first teaching that he's giving. First, make your life successful by execution of this Krishna consciousness. Once being situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness, then you will be able to go and perform this para upakar, the highest welfare activity. There's many kinds of upakar, but the para upakar is going and preaching Krishna consciousness. And it's not possible unless we ourselves first become Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada gave many instructions. Devotees would ask him, Srila Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? And he would give different answers according to different times and circumstances. But the most common answer that he would give to this question is that you become Krishna conscious. You love Krishna. You always chant Hare Krishna. And then he would generally follow this with, and then you go and you spread this to everyone. Book distributors would often ask Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? Because they wanted to get him to distribute books But Prabhupada would hit on this point that it's actually most important that we ourselves become Krishna conscious, because this qualifies us for preaching. This qualifies us for influencing others. This, if we become a devotee, then we are able to give our good association. You know, naturally, this is the process. We should be able to give our good association. We shouldn't be bad association, which means that we should first become Krishna conscious. We should first become very situated in following the principles, following the program that Srila Prabhupada gave. Means rising early, chanting your 16 rounds, attending all the programs, reading Prabhupada's books. If we are not doing these things, yet we're expecting that we can go out and we can create a big, you know, we can do some big preaching activities, we can attract many people to this Krishna consciousness, we won't be able to. In fact, the pursuance of this, because we're not situated in Krishna consciousness very firmly, naturally it will be tinged with some kind of puffed up, some personal motive, actually. Oh, I'm going to become a big preacher. I'm going to bring so many people, and then I will be glorified because I'm a big guy. But first we have to cultivate this humility. This is best cultivated in Brahmacharya ashram by following the program that Prabhupada gave, living in the temple, living simply, rising, like I said, rising early, chanting 16 rounds, having Bhagavatam class, doing service, getting chastised. These things will help us so that we can become better preachers in Krishna consciousness. That's the ultimate goal. To become Krishna conscious, of course, that's the ultimate goal. But what's even more ultimate than the ultimate goal is to spread Krishna consciousness to everyone else. I mean, just look at our acharyas. The Prabhupada himself, he told Brahmananda Swami, I believe, that he was happily living in Vrindavan with Krishna. He was there in Vrindavan, in the spiritual world, not in, he was in the spiritual world with Krishna. And then Krishna tells him, you go down there and you need to write these books. I need you to go and write these books. And Prabhupada said, no, I don't want to go. Please don't make me go. I said, no, you have to go. You go. Don't worry about anything. I will take care of everything. I think Brahmananda Swami says that Prabhupada told him like this.
There is Prabhupada reply.
Prabhupada is recorded saying like this.
Prabhupada.
Oh, wow. So yeah, so it's, he has it. So Prabhupada was very happy. Even in his pastimes manifest in this world, Prabhupada was living in Vrindavan. He was living in the Radha Damodar temple. He was nicely doing his bhajan. He was an old man. He had lived his life. He had done so much service through his life. He had made so many contributions. He had the order to preach in the English language. He did that. He was writing in the English language. He was publishing in the Harmonist and Back to Godhead. He was doing all these things. He could have been satisfied like that, and he could have passed away in Radha Damodar, and that would have been fine. He was a pure devotee. He was completely perfect. There would have been no fault in that whatsoever. But he was so humble and so compassionate that he came and he said, I actually don't want to be here. I want to go back to Vrindavan. I missed my place in Vrindavan. I don't want to be here, actually. But I have this order of my spiritual master to preach this, Already he was doing, but still he wasn't satisfied. He wanted to increase more and more and more. So this is the quality of a real pure devotee. Same thing with all of our acharyas. Of course, we have through this, what is this? That book which gives the Deepika, not Bhagavad Deepika, it gives like the Vraja identities of all of the Gaura Lila associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know what I'm talking about? Gaur Ganodesh Deepika. Yeah, Gaur Ganodesh Deepika. So in that book, it's revealed all the different identities of our acharyas, the Goswamis. They're all gopis in Vrindavan. What is more perfect than being a gopi in Vrindavan, right? That's like the whole goal, right? Prabhupada even stated one time that the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement is so that people can enter into the divine love dance with Krishna, to enter into Rasa Lila. He said that this is the purpose of this Krishna consciousness movement. Those Nitya Siddha Mahabhagavats who are eternally engaged in Rasa Lila with Krishna, they came to this world to spread Krishna consciousness. They weren't happy just doing Rasa Leela with Krishna. Can you imagine? They weren't happy just doing Rasa Leela. There's something higher than even that, which is Sankirtan. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. There's this verse in the very beginning. I haven't memorized it. But this verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give the highest thing which had never been revealed by anyone previously. And his compassion, Mahavadanya Avatar. By his compassion, he's giving us an animal life all the way up there, just like that. Yeah, we need to put in another thing. So this is Sankirtan, and we should take full advantage of this. And we can't take it cheaply, or else we'll think I'm a gopi, and look, I'm preaching in here, and I'm doing the highest thing. This is not humility. If we're not humble, then we're not actually performing any service to Krishna. This is the prerequisite, actually. Prerequisite to get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives his mercy even to the most puffed up people. Prakashananda Saraswati, these Mayavadis, the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, most puffed up people. Still, they got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can also become humble by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also attain the highest level, being able to preach Krishna consciousness, distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. There's nothing higher than this, actually. Rameshwar Swami, at the time, he was doing revolutionary things in terms of book distribution in North America. He had his own set of followers, kind of. This is, he's a sannyasi, he's a big leader of ISKCON. New people were coming, they're kind of under him. Later on, he took on disciples after Prabhupada left. He was one of the original 11. And he was telling his followers, his people out in Los Angeles, that this verse, Nikunja Yuno Ratikeli Sidhya Ya Yalibhir Yuktir Apekshaniya Tatrati Dakshad Ativallabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charana Aravinda. He was telling them, so this verse is describing that the spiritual master is always engaged in assisting in the pleasure pastimes and the pleasure groves of Vrindavan. Very esoteric verse. How the spiritual master is engaged in assisting in these pastimes with Radha and Krishna and the pleasure groves of Vrindavan. He was telling these book distributors that this verse is speaking about book distribution. This verse is glorifying that the spiritual master is engaged in book distribution, book production, book distribution. And some people were like, yeah, like, that's awesome, let's do it. Some people were like, I don't know about this, I don't know. Some people challenged him, no, this is clearly not about book distribution. Nothing is mentioned about book distribution. So this got brought to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, does this verse, Rameshwar Swami is saying that this verse means book distribution. How, this doesn't mean book distribution, does it? Srila Prabhupada said, actually, yes, he has understood this verse. So think about it. I mean, it's a big thing to think about, but this is the most intimate service. So many things are there. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj gives this other talk called Serving Radharani on the Streets of America. That's the last place that you would expect to be able to serve Radharani on the streets of America. Go to America and you're serving Radharani. If you have the proper consciousness, and specifically if you are humble enough, then you'll be given entrance into this. There are many devotees who have given examples of this. Bhrigupati Prabhu, he's famous in America for being the Six Goswami guy. Everywhere he goes, whenever he's teaching book distribution, whenever he's preaching, he brings these laminated copies, you call laminated, plastic covering, laminated copy of the Shad Goswami Ashtakam, and then on the back of it is a picture of the Six Goswamis and a section of a purport from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which Prabhupada is speaking that we should take shelter of the Six Goswamis. And this is his meditation every time he goes out on book distribution. He brings it with him. He always has this laminated copy with him. He puts it in his card, he puts it on his bag, whatever he's doing, he keeps it there, and he's always chanting the Shad Goswami Ashtakam, and he's always meditating on the form of the Six Goswamis. And like this, he's distributing books in the mood of the Goswamis. And what is the mood of the Goswamis? Hey Radhe Vrajadevi Ke Chalalite, Hey Nanda Suno Kuta. where are you, Radha? Where are you, Krishna? Where are you, Lalita? Where are you, Vishnu? He's on this level, actually. If I've ever seen any devotee who is on this pure level of serving Radha by distributing books, it's Prabhupada. We can take inspiration from them. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj said that the 6 Goswamis are always with Bhrigupati Prabhu. Whenever he's in the Walmart parking lots, whenever he's in the streets, whenever the 6 Goswamis are there performing their pastimes with Bhrigupati Prabhu in the streets of America. Completely inconceivable. Guru Maharaj said this. So Goswamis are there. These are gopis in Vrindavan who came to preach Krishna consciousness, as if there wasn't anything higher than doing Rasa Leela with Krishna. So anyways, your desire was fulfilled. I spoke a little bit about Srila Prabhupada, and my desire was fulfilled. We finished the purport that we've spent 3 days on now. So, any questions? We're out of time. We were also talking about yesterday how we should finish the class on time. No questions? Yes, questions? No? Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada transcendental book distribution ki jai.